Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Matt Reinsmith. The Butler football team recently wrapped up its season and have secured at least a share of the Pioneer League title. On today's Blitz, we are going to talk football with the head coach of the Dogs and one of his star defenders. But before we do that, here's Marissa Johnson with an overview of the 2012 season.
The Butler football team is at least co-champion for the second time in 4 years. The team has earned a share of the Pioneer Football League title and can still win it outright. The Bulldogs played for sole control of the championship last Saturday against Drake, but couldn't get the job done. The loss allows Drake and San Diego to gain a piece of the crown. Before the loss, Butler had been on a 7-game winning streak. The Bulldogs clinched their share of the title with a dramatic victory over Jacksonville 2 weeks before. Junior quarterback Matt Lancaster led the Bulldogs on a 95-yard game-winning drive. Coach Jeff Forrest says it was a great win for his team.
Jacksonville, and as good as they've been and are, to battle them for 60 minutes and come away is critical. And you know, it's win or lose on one play. I mean, you don't ever want it to come down to that. But we felt like we had the right call and the right opportunity, and I think we had the commitment to get it in. 11 guys doing their job, and it worked out.
Lancaster's score, combined with Drake's loss at Dayton that weekend, guaranteed Butler its second championship in 4 years. The team overcame diversity throughout the season to finish atop the league. Sophomore Ryan Henson said this made the championship even sweeter.
It means a lot because a lot of people had us not being a very good team coming off a 5-6 season. I think we were second to last in the PFL for preseason rankings, so we really surprised the league and did a lot of good things that people didn't expect.
The team will only lose 7 seniors next year. Henson says this means the team will have high expectations. But for now, they are going to savor this season. After all, they are champions. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Marissa Johnson.
I'm joined in the studio today by head coach Jeff Forrest and junior defensive back Kevin Cook. Coach, Kevin, thank you very much for joining me today.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks for having us.
Kevin, first question for you. How does it feel to know that here in a year and a half, you're only a junior, but you'll for sure graduate here from Butler with at least a share of a Pioneer League title on your resume? How does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, that's our goal every year in and year out, to get a PFL championship. It's very nice. We had a great season this year. And the next year we're striving to get better and even improve our record from this year. We were 8-3, and we want to go in next year with the mindset that we're still hungry to get another one and walk away with an even better record next year to improve.
Coach, you guys will lose only 7 seniors next season. And a lot of the talent that you'll have returning is junior talent, but 2 of the seniors that you'll lose are linebacker Jordan Ridley and offensive lineman Matt Story. And both of those guys have been cornerstones for your programs over the past 4 years, really.
No question.
So, first off, how would you replace Jordan defensively?
It's going to be tough, there's no question. Both those guys are outstanding student athletes, and like you said, Jordan's been the core of that defense for years now. But to replace one guy, I think is the wrong way of looking at it. We need to find 11 guys that are going to do the little things that we did this year, that are going to play hard and fit together and trust in one another. So Jordan's going to be hard to replace, but we'll find 11 guys that want to play together and play fast and play physical.
Jordan accounted for 101 tackles this past season and 1 interception, while Story contributed to the vaunted, really, rushing attack that you guys were able to put on the field week in and week out. Can you talk about junior running back Trey Heater's contributions this season?
He's a special guy. I mean, Trey, when he's in the room, he's in the room. He's got a special personality and a unique work ethic that's really unmatched. I mean, he loves the game and has a passion for the game, which I think allows him to play at the speed and the level he plays at. But he'd be the first to tell you that he's not doing what he's doing without 10 other guys around him. And you mentioned Matt Story, and the rest of that line really came together as the year went on. I think we got better and better each week, and Trey benefited from that as well as the other skilled players there on offense.
Kevin, Trey accounted for over 1,100 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns this season before he was hurt and missed the final game and a half to 2 games there. And his average yards per carry were incredible, 6.6 yards per carry, and you played against him in practice every day as a defensive back. So can you talk about what it was like to not only practice against him, but get to work with him day in and day out and see really how his work ethic wore off on the rest of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technically, he was on the other side of the field. We have scout teams that we go against that get us better every day. You know, they give it their 100% to compete against them. So I don't see Trey personally, wrap up in the field. But he's right next to me in the locker room, and he brings a lot of energy on the team. He's really fun to be around, and that he's going to give 110%, just a natural leader in everything he does. So day in, day out, you can see that his confidence pours on to the other players, and it's really fun to have him as a player and play next to him.
Coach, junior quarterback Matt Lancaster played his first season with the Bulldog program this season, and it was one that was very efficient. He threw for 21 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and over 2,700 yards, and he also added an element to your offense that obviously you already had with Heater, but he showed the ability to run the ball throughout the season. So his efficiency along with his playmaking really contributed. Can you talk about how he played this season?
Yeah, I mean he's a special guy too. I mean we got so many of them that it's team first and they're great teammates, and I think that's he has all the intangible qualities you're looking for in a leader and a quarterback. His work ethic is unmatched. And I think the thing is, you watch Matt through the year. I mean, he really hadn't played a lot in a couple years with the transfer and then the red shirt. So each week he got better. And there was no one in the film room more, and there was no one working any harder at practice. And those are the things you want from your leaders. And I think that work ethic and that trust he built allowed him to put the team in a position where he could distribute the ball and do some things. He made great decisions, like you said. I mean, 21 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, I mean, is an outstanding year by any measurement. And I think we've just kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with him, because his work ethic, like I said, is really outstanding.
And he'll have a whole other season to show off that work ethic. Are you expecting more big things next season from him?
Well, I think the whole group together, like you said, there's a lot of them coming back, and the biggest thing when you have a lot of returning guys is being able to start over and to go back to square one and understand that every year is a different year and every group's a different group, and build that locker room again and that camaraderie. And it's just going to be different. Like you say, you pull a Ridley out, you pull a Story out, you put a new recruiting class in, and can we go back and do all the little things that we did this year and do them a little better? And I think the leadership's there to do that. Now it's time and hard work ahead of us to get it done.
You guys were very effective defensively throughout the season. I'd like to talk a little bit about the contributions of junior Jeremy Stevens. He accounted for 71 tackles this season and 8.5 sacks. Yeah. So he gave you guys a pass rushing element. Can you talk about how he played throughout the season, and then what you're looking for, not only from him but from the entire defensive unit heading into next season?
Yeah, Jeremy was a huge threat every game, flying around. He flew around every practice. The coaches had to get on him every now and then to slow down, because he's just a great football player and loves to hit people, and you can obviously see it on the field when he goes up and makes those big plays every game. So yeah, it was a pleasure playing with him on the field. As a defensive unit, we had a bend don't break mentality. We all just rallied to the ball, angle pursuit drills, just to do the best of our abilities to make sure they don't score a touchdown, obviously. So next year, with this group coming back, a lot of people are coming back. We expect to keep up the same mentality of bend don't break, and stop the offense and do our job so we can get the ball back to offense for complimentary football.
And you, in a starting role for the first time this season, tallied 48 tackles and 1 interception, and it seemed like with every game that came down to the wire, you were making some defensive play to bat the ball away or force a team off the field on 4th down. Can you talk about your first season starting and where you see yourself going next season?
Absolutely. I mean, I had a really good time this season, and the coaches stressed, just do your job. Everyone do your job. The 11 players out there each have to contribute and just focus on their tasks, their keys, every play. So that's what I did throughout the season, and I know all 10 other players with me did the same thing. So when the ball did come your way, you had to be ready to make a play. which was the key in winning some games this year.
Kevin, or Coach, I'm sorry. Can you talk about Kevin's contributions next season and how he might help fill the void that Jordan will leave defensively as more of a defensive leader? And as a senior on the team, I'm sure that he will be expected to fill in a little bit of a leadership role.
Right. There's no question that a bunch of them will be there, but Kevin will be just as solid as anyone. There's definitely a leadership element that he brings, and an intensity and a passion for the game. And as important as his role is defensively, we don't talk enough about his contribution on special teams. I mean, he was our special teams player of the year as a sophomore and contributed again that way this year. And every play's the big play. You don't know when it's going to happen, and I think that's part of leadership is showing the young guys the importance of not just a starting role on offense and defense, but everything that you can do to help the team, whatever the role is critical, and he does a great job on special teams also.
Coach, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Jacksonville game, which was your last home game of the season. It was when you celebrated the graduating seniors, and you guys did beat Jacksonville that game for the first time in 7 meetings. And I thought it was fitting to see the weather on that day happened to be about 40 degrees and hailing. And of course, you got a team from Jacksonville, Florida up here playing in it. So how do you think the team responded to that? Was there any special emphasis put on practice that week, knowing that you guys hadn't beat them in 7 meetings leading into it? Or was it just a regular week that you guys...
Yeah, I think that's kind of how we got to this point, that it was nameless, faceless opponents. It was about our preparation. It was, not getting by, but raising the bar each day, and the importance of consistent preparation, and you got to win on Tuesday, and all those things we were hammering home since last January. The opponent didn't matter. The preparation was different based on scheme and the matchups you might have within the game, but all those things about beating a team for the first time, or homecoming or senior day or whatever. As important as those things are, it wasn't the focus of the daily efforts that our guys had. They did a really good job of taking big things and making them small, and hey, what's important right now? What do we have to get better at right now? And I think that's why we ended up where we did.
Kevin, I was fortunate enough to be on the sidelines for that game against Jacksonville, and the first half didn't go your guys' way so much, and of course the weather didn't contribute to it. But one of the things that I did notice was that the morale on the bench never wavered. You guys were upbeat, optimistic throughout the game, no matter the score, no matter the weather. So, and I'm sure that applied to the team this season, not just that game. So can you talk about being in the locker room on a daily basis and being around everyone, and just how the team morale was throughout the season?
Yeah, it was excellent the whole season, like you said, and especially on that game, you could see on the sidelines that even if we're down, we had the confidence and team chemistry about us that we could come back and win games. We knew we had the abilities, and we knew we had the work ethic and talent to finish the game. And just in the locker room, got along with like everybody on the team. We all were having a fun, great season, and just kept going out there every day in practice, trying to get better. And so just it portrayed on the field just by doing day in and day out things to get the win against Jacksonville and the other teams.
With only 7 seniors on the team this season, Word and coaches touched on it a little bit, but were many juniors expected to assume more of a leadership position? Because there was not a lack of seniority, but there was definitely more of a junior focus on the team than seniors this season. Obviously, the seniors that you did have contributed in a big way, but I'm sure the juniors did help with that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, our seniors were outstanding this year. They were the ones that brought our whole team together, and you could just see that they were leading the team by example, speaking up, in practice, weight room, doing the little extra things to bring us all together. And there was a lot of juniors that had some big roles on the team that also stood up to do their part and help bring others up. So it was more just like a team thing. I mean, you could tell that the seniors were the seniors because they did such a great job. And then you might not be able to tell, but some of the juniors that and even some sophomores stood up and started talking to help each other just have a good team chemistry to keep going out there to excel. But
Coach, the resiliency of this team was something I noticed throughout the season. I'll talk about the homecoming game here on campus when you guys, it looked like entering the fourth quarter, you didn't have a shot to bring home the W, but
Right.
you rallied in the fourth and did bring home that win. And then in that game against Jacksonville, you played without running back Trey Heater and wide receiver Brendan Shannon for the game, and you still found a way to beat them. So the team was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the team was resilient throughout the year, and I think that your 8-3 record overall shows that.
No question. And that, I think the biggest part of that is we talk a lot about complementary football. We talk a lot about doing your job and trusting the guy next to you. You can't win a college football game with a couple guys. You gotta have great units, and you gotta be able to make a play. You gotta be mentally tough enough to make a play in tough situations. And not only that, but even more important is that when you make that play, you trust the other unit that they're going to capitalize on it. If I just keep hanging in here, eventually we're going to score. If we keep scoring, eventually we're going to get a stop. At some point, special teams is going to flip the field and create momentum for us. And that's where we got, because of the way people came to practice and their work ethic and what they did in the weight room and what they did in the off season. There was a chemistry that said we will get that done. And I think from day one, the second half shutout at Western Illinois and almost coming back, and you start going through the script of games, and it just, they all kind of fell that way. They were all kind of down to the wire, and I think that's part of why last Saturday hurts so much, is because we expected to win. Something's going to happen, and we're going to win, and it just didn't happen. And but it was a heck of a run, and I'm really proud of the way they played.
Last Saturday, you guys were over in Iowa, and throughout the season, you've, in the league, there are teams from Jacksonville, Florida, from San Diego, out in California, from North Carolina, and then in a non-conference game, you guys went up to New England for Dartmouth this year. So the travel aspect certainly, I'm sure, didn't help circumstances this season. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, it's definitely a hard league as far as going on the road. I mean, the home team, if you take care of business, if you prepare, if you do the things right, I think you have a distinct advantage as a home team just because of the travel. There's a good group of us situated here in the Midwest that we can kind of get on a bus, and it's not too bad. But, you're in and out of airports. There's, you're flying regular, ticket. There's no private planes or anything. I mean, it's a little bit of a chore to get 70, 80 people through the process and get where you need to go. So there's a lot of distractions when you go on a road. There's a lot of time on your feet, off your feet, that you can lose focus on what the task really is. And I think that's another sign of the toughness, how mentally tough these guys were to go to some of those places and play. And in the past, we hadn't done a real good job with newness or being unfamiliar with our surroundings. And I think the Dartmouth trip kind of, woke us up. So when we went back to Marist, which was our first visit to Marist in a big league game, we played much better than we did in the preseason. So the preseason travel, I think, helped us. And even down in Davidson, you got different weather. You talked about Jacksonville coming up here. Well, they've hosted us with 80-degree and sunny in November. I mean, you get the same thing going there. So there's so many things that can take you off topic and off focus of what's really important that day, that it takes a real focus to win when you go on the road.
Kevin, final question. You guys got any plans for what that championship ring is going to look like?
I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but it's going to be nice to get it. And like Coach said, it was not last game of Iowa. That kind of hurt, but it also has a mindset that we've got, that we're hungry for next year to improve off that. And so it's nice that we got this, but next year it's going to be nice to go out there and strive to get it again.
That'll do it for me on this edition of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Matt Reinsmith. Up next, Colin Likas will have an update on all other Butler sports on campus this weekend.
Hi, I'm Colin Likas, and here's this week's Bulldog Blitz scoreboard. The men's basketball team is 1-1 heading into the Maui Invitational after losing 62-47 to Xavier yesterday. The Bulldogs topped Elon in their season opener last Saturday. Butler will face Marquette in the Maui Invitational on Monday. Senior Katie Clark and her Bulldog teammates are headed to the National Cross Country Championship meet on Saturday. Clark finished runner-up in the regional meet, and Butler took 4th place in the event. The football team will head into next season, at worst, reigning co-champion of the Pioneer Football League. Butler could win the title outright through a series of opponents' results. The Bulldogs dropped a 45-20 decision to Drake in their season-closing game. A 2-game homestand awaits the women's basketball team following a 70-62 win at Ball State yesterday. The Bulldogs opened their season last Saturday with a 73-62 defeat at the hands of host Marquette. The volleyball team will compete in the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament Friday as the number 6 seed. The Bulldogs will play VCU in the tournament's opening round. And rounding out the scoreboard, the swim team is in the midst of a nearly 3-week layoff following a 2nd-place finish last Saturday. Butler defeated Illinois Tech, but lost to UIC. That's all for this week's edition of the Bulldog Blitz Scoreboard. Be sure to go out and support your Bulldogs. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Colin Likas.